Good morning, friends. I wanted to talk about survival versus thrival. This kind of came up this morning when I was drinking my coffee and my partner asked me a question. But basically, his thought was that the first responsibility you have to yourself in this world is to survive. And I get that because he functions from a very logical, critical, rational mind. That's where he feels safe. And to deviate from that a whole lot isn't something comfortable for him. And for me, I feel safe when I'm operating from my creative, artistic mind. And so for me, it's thrival or thriving is where I feel comfortable and safe. And so I'm going to speak a bit about a quote that Edward Hart wrote in a Reddit post yesterday, labeled or titled "No Other Creator." It's a very good post. I really recommend checking out his Reddit sub. It's a very good sub. So the quote goes to say, "The only belief you must hold on to with all your might is, I am the creator and there is no other creator." That sits well with me because it makes me feel empowered I can tackle anything that's unwanted by going within and giving myself what it is that I'm wanting. So I wrote these notes. I focus on the I am. Without this dedicated and relentless focus, I would be at the mercy of fear with all its distractions. Fear brings evidence that its narratives are true. And I think this is one of the reasons why people who operate mainly from their logical, rational mind don't feel comfortable deviating from that, because for them to feel safe and secure, they do that by thinking it through, by logicking things out sequentially to say, I'm going to get from A to B to C, and I'm going to do it in these logical, rational ways that are kind of tried and true in the outer world. They're part of the known world. And so it makes sense to do things in a linear, logical, sequential way, right? When you're going to tackle a problem or an issue, a lot of times you will do it through your logical, rational thinking mind. And I am totally okay with that in instances. But I've learned to, over the years, to tether my heart, mind, my heart, my beingness, right, of my heart to my mind, to my rational mind, where to some it looks very irrational in what I'm doing or why I'm doing it or how I'm doing it. But I have to follow what feels safe and secure for me, and that is to thrive. And I have found that within the confines of only moving around in the rational, logical mind, I feel imprisoned by that. It could, because it's very kind of finite, kind of black and white in its thinking and processing of movement, right? So it's not something that I feel free, completely free to be me within that framework. So focusing on the I am, my inner beingness, my inner self, focusing with love and satisfaction brings, to me, it brings evidence that its narrative is true. And it will do it in the most amazing and wonderful ways. That this form that you're looking at, my outer body, that my outer self can't necessarily construct or contrive some of the things that I've experienced on my own. To me, I've had assistance from the unseen world. My ducks are out there. They're having a meeting about something. I don't know what, but it sounds really important. It's probably about bugs. If I become tempted with doubts, then I become subdued by fearful experiences. And so back to the quote that Edward Art posted. Well, I want to say yesterday. I talked about it a little bit the day before. It says, Edward wrote, "The only belief you." Oh no, that's the one I just read. Oops, sorry. I have to go past my recipes back to the. I will get it together, I swear. He who will not live by love must be subdued by fear. That is a William Blake quote. I looked up the definition of subdued, and the word is the adjective form of the verb subdue. It means that something or someone is soft and restrained. Anything subdued is not as vibrant, strong, or remarkable. So, to be subdued by fear is, to me, not fully living from the I am. Not fully giving yourself what it is that you want to yourself. And as a result, the experiences that you have then will show up as evidence through fear, through all the things that fear symbolizes, right? So I went on to write this little note. Fear will convince you that you are not the I am, or at least it'll try. That you are separate and insignificant from yourself, and therefore under the rule of superstition. Fears can keep you imprisoned because you are the creator of fear. And Edward talks about this in the post that I mentioned from his Reddit post yesterday, You Are the Creator. Because you're the creator of fear, yet you play make-believe that fear is a powerful entity or force outside yourself. And as such, you are on your knees at its mercy. And I think, I'm sorry, his Reddit post was called No Other Creator. No, you are the creator. But in my, it's the same. You are the creator. There is no other creator. And as a result, to echo what Edward Art said in his post yesterday, is that you're creating it all. If you're happy and joyful, you did that. If you're terribly miserable and suffering, you did that. And I think that can really trip up a lot of people in feeling like, well, I didn't create this misery. I didn't create this suffering in the world. I certainly didn't heap this horrible experience onto myself just so I could suffer. And I get that. That is your logical, rational mind telling you a thing so that you remain subdued, right? You remain soft and restrained from the truth of I am. And I don't mean this in any condescending way whatsoever. I get that pain and suffering and all the distractions of fear, they're volatile. There's nothing enjoyable about it. And I've certainly experienced my share of hurt and pain and suffering throughout my life experience. And I still do. I still have moments where fearful thoughts will try to get my attention and distract me and say things like, who do you think you are that you can just talk about this like it matters or like anybody cares? Or who do you think you are saying these things that you can't prove, right? Who do you think you are to tell people that they're responsible for the creation of their own life experience when there are people hurting and suffering in this world and they're innocent or they don't deserve it? I can only say what my personal experience has been and is because of my focus and my attention with certain teachings that have opened me up to be in a place where I feel like I am thriving, not just surviving, or not just, like hanging on, or just barely, getting through my day because of the overwhelmment or the whatever is happening outside of me, because I've had that in multiple different ways, in different like intensity levels, right, of experiences that I've had concerning how I feel when I'm surviving versus how I feel when I feel like I'm thriving. And every time I can tell you that when I'm thriving, it's almost always connected to an inner motivation on my part to focus on love and satisfaction, or gratitude, or the belief that the bigger part of me is guiding me and helping me, and my life is unfolding in ways that feel incredible to me because I'm willing to believe and to step outside of conditioned programming or conditioned thinking, to step outside of just logical, rational, black and white thinking. I do that. I do it consistently enough that it's brought enough evidence into my life experience that I feel compelled to continue doing it, and not just to say things because I think someone will, believe it. I say things because I am coming from a place of curiosity and encouragement for anyone on the path who wants to believe enough to do the same for themselves, to find the confidence and the strength to live in a focus of love instead of being subdued by fear, right? To create a life of freedom versus a life of, for a better word, it's just imprisonment in one's own mind. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because it felt important. I have opportunity all through my day to focus on fear and its distractions, or to turn within and focus on the I am. And sometimes it doesn't always feel easy. That's why for me and where I'm at, it's oftentimes I'm making a conscious choice to trust and be confident in my focus of the I am, because I get a lot of feedback at times that I'm not being realistic, or that that fear is a real part of other people's experience, right? And I tend not to engage in a lot of any of that, because they would look at me like I was insane, and I get that. I spend a lot of time alone in the woods, doing my own thing, studying my own stuff, reading and listening to what is helping me to find my way. I don't have people hanging out with me while I do this because that's not their focus. This is my focus. That's why I'm happy to be on YouTube sharing my focus with people who are interested, right? But I would be doing this regardless of if anyone else was interested or not, because I know what it means to me to feel like I'm thriving versus feel like I'm suffering. And I'm good on the suffering part. Like I think I've done enough time in my mind suffering. And I'm broke out of that. I don't have to be in that lesson planner, that I'm good on that. And now my focus is on what allows me to thrive, where I am free, where I create, where I take responsibility for what I'm experiencing in my inner world and then in my outer world, what follows. So, and I'm excited about all of this. It feels so relevant and so wonderful to be in this space, right? And feel like I know, if I know nothing else, that I can continue to keep coming back to myself over and over and over, as many times as I need to, because it's my safe place. I have given that to myself. I have carved out permission with me to be allowed to be in my unseen world, in my safe place, and with my beautiful, innocent heart. And I gain the greatest access on a moment-by-moment basis when I'm being joyful, when I'm tapped into almost a childlike joy in whatever it is that I am focused on, right? It could be doing dishes, it could be figuring out what I want to make for dinner. It could be when I'm playing with clay and creating art. It could be watercolor. It could be watching birds. It could be petting my cat, Gigi. It could be giving hugs to my partner and feeling loved and connected to the people that I love, right? But I'm giving that to myself first. I grew up in the 80s, and I have to say, I spent decades looking at my reflection in the mirror and not loving it. Just considering my body as a tool and being angry and disgusted more often than not with the reflection that I was gazing at. I don't do that anymore. And I haven't done that in a while. But especially this year, for me now, when I look in the mirror, I just love my reflection. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've begun loving myself. That I go in and I express love to myself unconditionally. And that was not something I used to do. And now I'll rub my belly when I look in the mirror. And I don't feel disgusted if I look in the mirror and I'm naked. I just look at my whole body and I think, I love you. I love you so much. I love you in every single possible cell of your beingness, right? And I mean it. I mean it now. I haven't felt that kind of love for this body since I was a very young child. Before all the judgments and media, conditioning about what is beauty and all of that crap. Now I just love myself. And it's been so immensely helpful in every aspect of how I choose to focus my attention now, because I'm not conflicted in that way, whereas I was for many, many decades. So there's that, right? And it's not always that for everyone, but I think whatever it is that you're not loving about yourself is an opportunity to embrace that. Like you would a child. You wouldn't pick a child apart and say horrible, mean things, or at least I would hope not, because they are pure essence of the I am. And they're vulnerable because they're truth, right? They're the truth of us. They're the truth of you inside. It is our inner beingness that is the vulnerable child within that just wants to be loved and held and accepted unconditionally. No matter what they're feeling, right? No matter what's happening, they want to feel safe. And I've begun feeling safe, not because I feel like I have to survive in this horrible, terrible world, but because I get to thrive in this beautiful, incredible world of my design, of my making. And so that feels incredible, right? That's a shift in a state of, in a state of feeling, in a state of consciousness, but it's a definite shift that I can feel the difference in myself about that. So, okay, well, I don't want to keep you here all day listening to me. I know I do make long videos, and I really appreciate when you listen. I do. I make these, though, also to help me. It really helps me become even more cohesive in my thinking and feeling about all of this, right? So I am so happy to share this with you and to share myself with you. in the I amness of me, the very beingness of my heart. I appreciate the very beingness of your heart. And I hope that your day feels wondrous and beautiful, and that you're finding beauty and joy in your moments. Until we talk again, friends, take care.